To help us make sense of these developments, former Defense Secretary and senatorial candidate Norberto Gonzales is joining us live here in the studio. Welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us on a Monday.
Yes. Hi.
Okay, let's pick off from that piece of news. The AFP modernizing its weapon system with the potential acquisition of 20 F-16 fighter jets. Of course, we do know pagdating sa mga ganyan, bilyones po ang involved. Do you agree that this is the right way to go?
Well, it's something that a nation in a situation like us should do. No? But given your question of whether we can afford it or not is another matter. No?
But at one point, you did say that, correct me if I'm wrong, that a Chinese invasion is not unthinkable.
Oh, yes.
Ba't niyo po nasabi yun?
Well, you know, there are two kinds of news that we get. The ones in the public and the ones that are within the grapevine of intelligence or national security practitioners. We know that China is planning something not only to Taiwan, but the Philippines as well because of our geographic location. It will be easier for China to invade Taiwan, for example, if the Philippines is controlled by them.
What is in it for China? Why do you think they would want to invade us? Reportedly, they have denied this, of course. Siyempre, di nila aaminin yun. Pero if you think about it, they already have a huge territory in China. Ano yung interest kaya nila in the Philippines?
Well, it's not about territory. You're right. You know, they're huge, and they really don't need any square inch of land from outside what is China today. But Taiwan, for example, is an emotional matter as far as China is concerned. Because, you know, they had a revolution decades and decades ago. And for some reason, yung kanilang kalaban sa, well, their opponent in the revolution ran to Taiwan. And ever since, they have not defeated Taiwan. They were not able to finish the revolution. As far as the people of China is concerned, that is a matter of national pride. Now the Philippines. You know, towards the middle of the term of Pinoy Aquino, the propaganda machine of China has declared the Philippines as its #1 enemy, as early as that. And why is this so? We have one of our ambassadors to China before. Well, sorry, he passed away. But he was an activist that had to stay in China for decades. Anyway, what he said is this. The people of China, when their nation is threatened by an external war, they tend to forget their complaints about their government and disregarding that and going closer to China. And
they unite.
They unite. This is the culture of the Chinese people. So they need an external enemy. So when Xi Jinping assumed power, at the beginning he was not so sure whether he has fully consolidated his power in China as Communist Party chairman. So he needed an enemy, and we are very convenient as an enemy. We're near. We are reputed to be the main supporter of America.
And the way they're framing this is that we are a puppet of the United States.
Precisely.
Do you agree with the closer ties of this administration with the U.S.? I mean, we have seen two defense secretaries come over to our shores. Yung fighter jets, parang bibilin din natin sa kanila. I mean, at this point, what other choices do we have?
Well, you see, we, of course, in terms of national issues, I mean, our nationalism is kind of difficult to be considered as a puppet of another imperial power. But you see, given this situation today, we may be needing America more. No? In fact, we're a bit apprehensive because there's a new president in the United States, and you don't know the stability of what he promises in the world. So right here now, I think as you said, two defense secretaries have visited the Philippines, because I think it's to the interest of the United States to make sure that Philippines agree to the American plan of how they will repulse a possibility of an invasion from
Well, of course,
China.
there is also the Taiwan question, the possibility of us getting dragged into that conflict with the EDCA basis also increasing over the past years with the Marcos administration allowing that. Doon po ba sa aspetong yun, I mean, do you agree that it should have been allowed by the administration and also used as a leverage to be able to secure the Mutual Defense Treaty?
You know, any leverage initiated by us will not matter. Because as far as China is concerned, when they look at the Philippines, they can do what they really want, depending on the interest that they are projecting at the present time. No? Philippines doesn't matter. That is why if we are thinking in terms of how do we prevent China from attacking us, I think it is wiser that we join the rest of the world in their strategy of how to stop China from being more aggressive.
And how is that exactly?
Well, the main policy that they have adopted is the policy of deterrence. They are trying to tell China, you better not, because you will be destroyed in the process.
Kumbaga magpalakas tayo ng
Well, sana.
armas? Is it through modernization?
Sana. Well, you see, because we are poor, we cannot afford a full-blown modernization.
That's correct. If we will not get to that level, then how do we create that deterring force?
Well, you see, it so happens that our interest corresponds with the interest of the nations approaching us today. For example, it's not just the United States visiting the Philippines, you know. You have the aircraft carrier, for example, of France visiting us and even doing a little bit of joint exercises. So things like this. Well, Japan and South Korea are very interested in seeing the Philippines free. No, and that you have Australia, New Zealand, and lately the NATO countries are also coming to the Philippines because they're afraid of one thing. If something happens in our part of the world while the war in Ukraine is happening and it might expand to its nearby countries of NATO, and then suddenly we erupt here, it becomes a world war. When it becomes a world war, and
Everything is affected.
And if we are
Economies are
dealing with leaders that are blinded by their imperial ambitions, then humanity is not certain whether these individuals will use nuclear weapons. These are real fears being raised by countries mostly in NATO. That's why, to me, it's really should be taken seriously.
Do you agree with the presence of the Typhon missile here in the Philippines?
It's a token. It's a token. You know, how many missiles have we been? How many missiles have been placed in the Philippine territory, and we are not certain who will push the button.
So do you agree with it?
Of course.
Isn't it
and
provocative?
More.
Isn't
and
it
more.
provocative?
It's not provocative.
Okay.
As I have been telling you, any action of the Philippines does not matter to China. What matters is the official policy of the Communist Party of China. They have their own objectives. And sorry for us, because to China, domestic objective is very important. So we are part of their domestic objective. That is why I do not see the escalation of the things that are happening in the West Philippines.
China's already made the pronouncement several times that they will take control of Taiwan. Are we nearing that day? The AFP chief mentioned the other day we should prepare for that.
Well,
what are you hearing?
We should listen to the armed forces. You know, the AFP chief, you know, we are politicking his position. You know, we're making his position. But that guy is a professional. I know him. He will not speak those kind of words.
Pag walang basihan.
Pag walang basihan, and the hint to this, no, we can help, is start observing the level of military exercises that China is holding vis-a-vis Taiwan. You should notice the quiet escalation, more boats, more ships, and then they're attempting what to many strategies in defense are saying that they really have to, be able to put defenses all over the island, not only one pace of, it's easy for China to invade Taiwan
If that
they're
happens, what should we prepare for?
Well, the problem is that those helping us are the ones preparing for the possibility of a conflict with China. The Philippines are merely being invited to be part of it. That is why what we are following actually today is the strategy of the United States, not Philippine strategy. We do not have a real defense strategy that is specific to the threats that we are facing today. We need one. And we also need to contribute. We cannot say that we are so poor, we're totally dependent on what the U.S. will do, what Japan will give us, what South Korea will also give us, and all other neighbors. We're talking of everything that comes from abroad, except our own. We do not have a plan. We are not preparing our people.
Of course, we are having this conversation because you are running for senator in the 2025 midterm elections. You ran for president in 2022.
Yes.
Why the Senate this time? And pag sinabi niyo pong sariling agenda sa security, what does that look like to a former national security advisor such as
Well, you see, this is not a subject that I want to talk about when it comes to Philippine politics. I ran for president, I ran for the Senate, I will keep running for as long as I can for one simple reason. Our country has never experienced the kind of good politics that is being exercised by more mature democracies in the world. If we exercise good politics, maybe we'll become progressive. Because the kind of politics and politicians that we have today, I think, is the biggest stumbling block why we are not progressing as a nation.
what does good politics look like to you?
Well, it's a politics that think of policies of the common good, that everything you do as a major policy that affects the people must think of the common good, for example. This is practiced by most mature democracies in the world. In our country, our kind of politics, have you heard of anybody really thinking of the common good among our politicians?
Well, nagiging patronage politics po eh.
Hindi lang patronage.
Oo, pero hindi
magnanakaw pa. Magnanakaw pa. We have
Tama
to
po.
emphasize this point. You see, this is, and then you're asking, what kind of politics are you thinking about? Of course, the reverse of what we are seeing in the Philippines. Look at the politics that we have.
But the question is, as a senator, if you win, what would you do or what can you do to change that?
Well, you see, not much. I think because the changes that we need are fundamental. For example, we need to change the charter. How easy will that be or how hard will that be when I'm senator? I don't know yet. But there are certain fundamental questions that we need to meet today. And exactly why you asked me to be here. No?
So why do you think should you run for the Senate if you want to espouse good politics but you can't do much? Then why the Senate?
see,
you could still do it in other capacities.
I think, when I talk to our people, this seems to be obvious. What I'm telling them is this. We need to be aware of how politics should be conducted in mature democracies. We need to do this. Otherwise, we'll never progress. So, am I going to win? Am I going to lose? Am I going to be a senator? It doesn't matter. What matters is the heart of our people. Their ability to understand that someday, if not today, we can have better politics and therefore better prospects of becoming a better country in the future. So there I am. Now, in our politics today, it seems that the people does not matter yet. But there are particular events in our history that they did matter.
Do you think it was correct for the Philippine government to cooperate with the ICC Do you think that is a step in the right direction? When you talk about good politics, when you talk about, the common good, para po sa inyo, ano pong tingin niyo po dun sa...
Well, it was a hot debated issue during my time. It was during my time that this was really subjected to debate of the cabinet. And I'm one of those who favored the entry of the country to ICC. But what was in my mind then is this. You know, joining the ICC is not just because you have one criminal that your justice system cannot try, no, or cannot put to justice. It is also about highly developed justice system that could aid the world, aid other countries in the world to have a better justice system. That was my understanding during our time.
So agree po kayo?
Oh, of course, I agreed. Then,
ngayon.
There's a growing suspicion or maybe apprehension with some countries that I would not think of apprehending, having this apprehension about ICC. They think that ICC has become politicized, that is becoming partisan, politically speaking. So this is the sentiment that is beginning to grow among nations that are supporting ICC in the past. Now, we have pulled out of ICC. If we intend to go back, I think we need another round of debates for that.
Well, I think it is a little bit too late to do that because the former president is already in their court. But
well, you see, ICC is not about Duterte only. It's about the justice system prevailing in countries all over the world. They want to see that countries suspected of not having a working justice system like the Philippines should have one. And it so happened that the case of former President Duterte is a good case.
Well, the eyes of the world will be on the ICC on this one, especially at such a tumultuous time. In the meantime, you are running for senator. Good luck with your campaign. We have several days left to that. So, abangan po namin kayo. But thank you so much for joining us to talk about defense and security with former Defense Secretary Norberto Gonzales.